Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing. I linked an article off of Brian Niemeyer's blog that should give some tips for how to think like a publisher, because if you are in the independent space, whether it's music or anything else, you're not just a writer, you're also going to be a publisher, and that means you'll also be a person trying to sell your final product. And that is something that it's probably the number one thing that people ask about. I've already done one stream on marketing, but I thought I'd do another one because we just finished publishing a book last week. And so we could talk about some of the strategies I might use to market that book. Now, in this case, this book that I put out, I probably wouldn't view as something that I needed to market heavily. It's like a 99-cent e-read, even though the ebook is not on Amazon because Amazon thinks I don't own the copyright to the book I already published. So that's a whole thing. Probably the stupidest conversation I've had in a while. And I'm not sure if it's with a robot or not. Like, I'm not sure if there's a robot responding to my emails or there's just a person on the other side who's not able to comprehend what's going on. Right? It's like, we don't think that you own the copyright to this. It's like, how could I not? Here's video of me writing it live, right? Of course I have the copyright because I wrote it. You can watch me write it. There should be zero doubt as to me having the copyright because I wrote it. I wrote the dang thing. You know what I mean? But, anyway, dealing with that. So I probably wouldn't market it simply because there's no option for someone to buy it in the convenient format, the 99-cent 2-hour read ebook format. But anyway, we could talk about how I might market that. The thing about marketing is this, and this is the most important lesson that you will ever get when it comes to marketing books, which is marketing is all about getting a product that people want to the people who want it. A lot of people are like, how do I sell my book? Well, you sell it to the people who want to read the book. And if that connection doesn't exist, you are essentially in a con game. You're asking, how can I con people into buying a product that they don't want? Right? It's like, well, should be find the readers who want to read your book. Convince people who would like your book that they should read it, or however you're going to do that. Trying to disguise your book as something that sells better, which is, I've heard some people say, like, what if I said it was a young adult like romance? It's like, is it young adult romance? Like, no, it's like you're going to get upset people when they buy the book if that's what they think it is. So really the first step of marketing is knowing what people want, even before you write the book. So when we talk about writing to market, people think about what's the thing that people want. What's my imaginary reader? Like, what's a hot group of readers to write for? And then they write a book that meets those needs. You don't have to do that. I don't do that because frankly, if I were doing that, if I were spending my creative energy writing books for some like hyper targeted segment of the population, I'd just find something else to do with my time or have an AI write it, right? Just wouldn't bother. Not worth my time. It's easier to make money doing almost anything else, right? Versus trying to write novels that you're not interested in. So you got to be interested in them. Fiction is a lot more challenging than nonfiction. So what do you think made it not think you own the copyright? Well, I had patron-only posts that had the rough draft transcripts of it, and there's a few sentences of preview, and so they thought it was freely available on the internet. Now, it's already on the Vela platform, which I can't take it off of without asking 30 people to take it off, but that didn't stop me from publishing the paperback. So it's nothing to do with that. It's that they think a Patreon post, which is not a free post, it's a locked post, makes it so that it's freely available on the internet, which means I don't own the copyright. Which, if I published it on the internet, obviously I own the copyright for it, right? I published it. It's mine, right? Of course I own the copyright. Just because I put it on the internet doesn't mean I don't own the copyright for it. Doesn't mean that the copyright doesn't belong to me. I didn't put it in the public domain by putting it on the internet. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway. So yes, the most important lesson you'll learn is that marketing is about connecting a product with people who want that product. How do you do that? There's a bunch of different ways. Okay, so let's talk about the main ways that you are going to market a book, any book. So the first one, I'm going to talk about the first one, which is the most cost efficient for you and the most effective long term, and that is content marketing. Content marketing is where you are going to make a piece of content for the internet that's free, which is attractive and targets people who are likely to buy your book, who are the kind of people who might buy your book. Let's put it that way. And that the reason that's efficient is that it doesn't cost any money and it's up forever. Whereas if you're running an ad, ads have a specific return. You're spending so much on an ad, you're getting people to click and hopefully buy something, which is going to be your rate of return. And when you stop running the ad, you stop getting that return. Okay. So ads are a different thing. So number one, content marketing. Number two, you can advertise directly. How you advertise is a lot about, again, identifying who might want to read your book and figuring out how to advertise to them. To that end, the easiest and probably in a lot of ways best platform to advertise on is actually Facebook, because Facebook knows so much about the people who are on it. You can really finely target a person on Facebook and present really fine targeted ads to people, because Facebook has so much information for you to use for your marketing, for marketing purposes. On Amazon, it's a little bit more difficult. Pretty much everybody that is trying to sell a lot of books is using Amazon AdWords or Amazon advertising. As Brian Niemeyer has pointed out, all that does is just reduce your royalties because you're having to pay to play on Amazon. Amazon has some information on its users, but not nearly like Facebook. So Facebook is way more efficient, like cost-wise. But you have to be using Facebook to do it. And if your audience isn't on Facebook, if you are targeting some weird segment of the audience that just doesn't use Facebook, then obviously that it's not going to work for you. In my experience with Amazon advertising, it's almost always a wash or a loss. And so Amazon advertising is worth it if you are running ads on, say, the first book of a series, and you're going to make up the loss on advertising by having people buy through the series. In other words, you spend, you're selling book one, let's say it's $2.99, and you're spending, let's say you're spending $5 of advertising to sell one $2.99 book. Now that's a $2 loss on that book. But if a significant portion of the people who buy that book buy book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down to book 20, then you'll make money, and you'll make a lot of money, even if you're losing money on book 1, right? You make it all back in volume is the joke. But if you're not doing that, then Amazon advertising is almost always not worth it. You're worth looking at other platforms like Facebook or doing another marketing strategy such as content marketing. There's other kinds of marketing that you can look at, which is kind of audience renting marketing. Advertising is a form of this, but this is something that a lot of indie authors do, which is list trade. So you build an email list and then you trade with other authors. This is really a win more strategy. I've talked about this in the past. What are win more strategies? Those are strategies that require you to already be in a very good position in order to use them. The reason I like content marketing, and I list it first, is that it is not a win more strategy. It's win more, but it's also win if you're at zero. If you're starting at zero, you can start building an online presence by making content, free content, that targets the kind of people who are going to buy your book. Okay, so it's not a win more strategy. It doesn't require you to have $5,000 in the bank to run ads, like to blast ads for your book. It doesn't require you to have a bunch of money on hand to do that, and it doesn't require you to have already built up a large email list, which you can then use to trade with other authors to try to, get that up. An example of this kind of list trading stuff that I talked about would be things like BookBub, believe it or not. So even though that's an advertising service, it's highly cultivated, and it's really about reaching a list that somebody else has already cultivated, renting connections that someone else has already made. Another way to do this would be to come on my show. So if you come on my show, then you're getting access to my audience, right? You're kind of renting my audience. Now, I don't charge for that, but like, I guess I'm getting a benefit and then I have an interesting person to talk to on the show. So yeah, that's a kind of audience renting, or you go on someone else's show, or you do blog tours. So list trading, blog tours, podcasts. Oops. Whoa, my microphone is wanting to take a dive today. Put you up. I need to come up with a microphone solution, but I've been so busy. Anyway, doing live streams. That is audience trading. You're going to basically take two audiences that people may have, and you're going to stick them together and kind of cross-pollinate them to see who's interested in things. And again, this works good if you have an idea of what kind of audience member you're looking to find and what they're really interested in. Just to give an example. Let's say you have a science fiction book, and the science fiction book is kind of space opera-y. Maybe planetary science fiction or something like Star Wars or Buck Rogers. Something with a lot of character drama. Well, then you make content that is directed towards people who like that kind of thing and might be interested in a book. It could be someone like a Star Wars fan, even though they don't buy books very much. They might buy your book because they might just be super interested in the story that you have there. So you make something on Star Wars. They will look at the content, they read the content, or they watch the content because they like Star Wars. Then maybe they buy the book because it's kind of similar to the interests that they already have. If you're going to advertise to them, what you'd find on Facebook is you'd find people who are interested in Star Wars, and you can actually like cross-reference people. Basically, I want people who are interested in Star Wars and Star Trek and Warhammer Online, and Warhammer 40K, right? And so that's going to be a little bit narrower. These are big time fans. You're targeting people who are mega fans, right? And maybe I want people who also like Conan the Barbarian comics. Boom. You could find a list of like 500 people that are like that. And your book is like Conan in space, let's say. It's Conan in space. So boom, you're going to sell it. It's Conan. It's Conan fighting Darth Vader, right? You come up with a log line like that. That's how you're going to lead in the advertising. You're going to lead with what is going to appeal to that audience member. It's going to appeal to the target. I hate to use the word target like I'm right? No, that's going to appeal to that person or the group of people that you're trying to sell something to. And you could change your ad copy based on who you're trying to target. So let's say I'm going to sell up the drama between the main character who's like Conan and the villain who's like Darth Vader. It's Conan in space, Conan fighting Darth Vader at the end of the universe, right? And it's like, boom, you have that. And somebody sees it and it's got a cool cover. They click it, they see your description, and then they go and they buy the book. That's targeted advertising. But the content, you can make content that's like, how is Luke Skywalker and Conan different? Like I could make that content right now. Oh, well, Luke Skywalker is this kind of everyman character. He starts with zero skills. He gets swept up into a conflict that's beyond him. He doesn't want any kind of glory for himself necessarily. He's caring about right and wrong. Whereas Conan was born to be Conan. He's the strongest character. He was born on a battlefield. The first thing he heard was a scream, right? He becomes king by his own hand. He's a lot more of a Nietzschean Ubermensch. He's a hero. Whereas Luke Skywalker is a nobody that becomes a hero. Conan was like born a hero, right? You just talk about that. And that's your content, right? There's your content idea. And so you make a video that says those things and talk about your book in it. Oh yeah, and see, in my book, I wanted the hero that's fighting the Darth Vader-like villain to be like Conan, not like Luke Skywalker. I wanted him to be aggressive. I wanted him to be superior to other people. I wanted him to be exciting and full of adventure and have experience and be dangerous and not be like a nobody who can't block a blaster bolt and get shot in the butt, right? I didn't want to start with a nobody everyman that people could relate to. I wanted to start with a hero that people would aspire to want to be like, right? And nobody meets Luke Skywalker at the beginning of Star Wars and it's like, I aspire to be like this moisture farmer. Rather, that doesn't really happen until we get to like Return of the Jedi and we see him being a badass Jedi and we're like, I want to be like Luke Skywalker. not everything has to have a growth arc, right? So if you're selling like the Conan thing. Anyway, that's how you would sell it. That's how you put the log line for your ad on Facebook. You could do a similar thing. You want to keep it really brief on Amazon, so it would be like Conan in space. Then for list trading, what you would want to do is you're like, let me find other podcasters who talk about science fiction or geek stuff, and I will get on their show and I will talk about Conan with them. And I will talk about Warhammer 40K with them. I'll get on a Warhammer 40K podcast and sell my book. So hey man, would you like to have a conversation? Maybe we could I can multi-stream, right? So I'm streaming on like a bunch of platforms right now. So if I wanted to multi-stream with someone else who had a platform, we could actually do that. And you can actually like side stream using our platform. So like, let's say I had an author on and we were going to do some cross-pollination. Well, I could stream to my channel, he could stream to his channel. The audiences would be watching in their respective places, but getting to know both of us, seeing both of our products, and that would be the cross-pollination thing. And our subject would be, what if Conan had a spaceship, right? And then that's the podcast, okay? And then you're going to attract audience members, and you're going to keep their interest. And the longer you keep their interest, the more you entertain them, the more they'll buy your book. And there's a bunch of psychological reasons for this. First of all, if you keep their interest, you're making them want the thing. You keep mentioning the thing, they're going to want the thing, right? You keep mentioning the book, Sorcerer's Blood, they're going to want the book, Sorcerer's Blood, about cutting out the living heart of a child in order to gain the living heart back of your lover. Is that worth doing? What kind of person would do that? Or would they stop? You got to read to find out. You got to find out. You got to read this to figure out if he actually does cut the heart out of an innocent child in order to get his girlfriend back, or if he decides to find a different path entirely. Because turns out that child might have the key to helping him understand who he is, because he can't remember things. He realizes he's forgetting lots of things, and he has some unexplained powers. But where are they from? Well, the child knows. But he needs to cut out the child's heart to get his girlfriend's heart back. So what's he going to do? Maybe he's going to work for the child. Let's find out. Read Sorcerer's Blood. Okay. So you talk about that in the podcast, and then people are likely to buy your book. There's another psychological thing. The more you entertain someone, the more value you give them, the more free content that they like to watch that you give them. This goes back to the first thing, content marketing. The more you do that, out of a sense of gratuity, they'll actually buy your book. And hopefully they like it enough to like leave a review, because they're part of the audience that likes your content. Chances are they're also like your book, right? They'll buy it because they feel like giving value back to you. Man, I've watched so many of this guy's videos. I've read so many of his articles. I should really buy his book, because he's a good writer, clearly, because I read the articles. But I should buy this guy's book because, man, he deserves to have some sales. All those little things work out. So psychology is big in marketing, and marketers don't have any illusions about psychology the way psychologists do. It sounds weird. Like, why would a marketer know more? Yeah. Why would a marketer know more about psychology than a psychologist? Well, psychologists are kind of bound up by the meta of the profession and things like the DSM that will keep them from realistically approaching from an angle of what do people do, whereas a marketer really only cares about what people do and what people buy. Doesn't really care. Like, we don't really need to know about there's some personality disorder that exists that makes people do things. We just know that people are doing things, and we're going to sell them a product that's related to that, right? Maybe it's exploitive. Maybe you're exploiting psychological things, but more often than not, you're really just using age-old, Jedi mind tricks. You're using age-old techniques to persuade people to buy a product. That's really what we're getting to. So a lot of people conflate a lot of the things that I talked about. They think marketing is advertising. Advertising is part of marketing, but the part that's missing is knowing who you're trying to reach, why they would want to buy your product, and what your product is going to do for them. Sometimes people think marketing is just selling things. No, that's sales. Marketing is the part that's missing is figuring out who to sell to, who is likely to buy it. That's really what we're thinking about when it comes to marketing. Who needs my product? If the answer is nobody, then we've made a mistake making the product, probably, but it's what it is. I've been watching your content for a while, but regrettably have not read any of your books. Do you have any recommendations as a good first read? Sorcerer's Blood, which I just came out with. You can read that first. Okay, it depends if you're a big reader or not. So be honest with yourself and be like, you know what? I don't read a lot of books. It's okay. A lot of times we don't read books because there's no books out there that we like to read. I've gone through that phase with like mass published literature where I'm like, just like, none of these books are good. They're boring and I don't like them. They're just not fun to read. So I'll give you a couple options. This is not my book, but I plug my friends. This is part of audience sharing. This is Matt Krott's Kyrie book. It's a really good graphic novel. It's by my desk, so if you can get me to put your book by my desk, I might whip it out and show it to people on stream. Kyrie, that's Matt Krott's. Let me find a book. I have a big pile of them over here. So yeah, it really depends what you're into. So, City of Silver. This is like one of my best-selling books now. It crept up and ended up becoming probably my most popular book. I think you can get the ebook for 99 cents. It's part 1 of Moonsong. The trilogy is already out. I have another trilogy that I will hopefully release later this year after I get out King Leper, which I may also release as a trilogy. So this is a great first one to hop into, is City of Silver. There's another good one called Voices of the Void. That is a 2-hour read. Everybody likes that one, but I haven't been marketing it very much, so like sales are kind of, because I'm not actively advertising it or like selling it on the channel. That one and Muramasa get asked the most for when's the sequel? When's the sequel to Voices of the Void? And the answer is I don't know. I have a sequel in mind, but I have other things that are a higher priority for me to finish. And so I've just been focusing on them. Hold on, let me find those books. All right. Here we go. Some more. I don't know where Voices of the Void is right now. I have lost it. I'll put it in chat. Let me put these in chat real quick. I have links to these. My links tab for like all my books is now like fills up a whole screen because I've written so many things, which is great. Like Voices of the Void. Okay, link this one. There's Voices of the Void. So Voices of the Void, that one is a 2-hour read. You can get through it really quickly, which is what it was designed to do. There's no chapters. It's all one long passage, one long section, one scene. So I approached that from a different kind of angle. Eyes in the Walls is another one-off one that people really, really like because of the twist ending. There's a big twist ending that I'm pretty proud of. That's when I started writing live on the stream a few years back, and on Halloween. So there's that one, Eyes in the Walls, and then I'll link you Crown of Sight, not Crown of Sight, City of Silver. It's in here somewhere. Here it is. City of Silver. This one over time has become probably my first or second best-selling book. The first selling might actually be Keys to Prolific Creativity. That one sells pretty good. I'm almost at 100 reviews for that, so that's cool. Keys to Prolific Creativity. I often sell this one. This is part of, you get this one with like the Patreon membership. Here it is. Okay, Keys to Prolific Creativity. This is all about your creative process. Getting projects done, getting them finished, getting them to market, getting them out, getting onto your next project, finishing things, as well as just working day to day and how you arrange your life to get that done, and how you change your mind about a lot of lies that we get told. One of the big lies that we get told is that, like, we're not good enough, that you have to revise things for 20 years before you can publish it, which is not true. That's not true at all. In fact, that's usually you being afraid of negative judgment of other people, which is okay. We all are afraid of other people's negative judgment on some level. So you don't need to feel bad about that, but that's probably what it is. You're probably not actually a perfectionist. You're actually a normal person who doesn't want someone to tell him he sucks. What you have to get over is that chances are somebody's going to tell you suck along the way. And you just have to be like, I don't care what you think. Anyway. So you should check out any of those. I'm interested to see if anyone could use Twitter ads to sell books. They're 3 cents a click, which is pretty cheap compared to Amazon ads. That is. I could try it out. I mean, I could take like $5 or $10 and just kind of see how they work. The question is how finely I could target it. Because on Facebook, I can target, because you can like pages, and Facebook asks you basically a marketing questionnaire when you make a profile. So if you can target it really finely on Twitter, and I haven't looked at it yet, so I may do that. If you can target it very finely, then it might be worth it, and I'll spend $10 to figure that out. That's not, that's an indie game, and see if I sell anything. But for me, like, I would know that the best thing to spend money on is a series, because you have the best chance of recovering all of your costs with sell-through. So I'd probably advertise this one, which is one of my most popular books, by sales. It's called City of Silver. City of Silver. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. So yeah. Now that one, Eyes on the Wall, is also very popular. But this one is a series. There's 2 more books. So may not be, if I don't make money on this one, maybe I'll make a little bit of extra money when someone buys the additional volumes. So that can be really helpful. Sorry, I missed a chat from Hardwick. That sort of issue is part of why I'm leery of publishing through KDP. I've heard that they're too aggressive in enforcing copyright, while draft to digital are much less so. Yeah, now worst comes to worst, if Amazon won't publish the ebook, I can always publish the ebook through draft to digital. Now, why would I want to publish it through Amazon and not draft to digital? And the answer is I can use Amazon AdWords if I want to. I can also enroll it in KDP Select if I want to. There's more control you have over how it goes to Amazon. But yeah, I could go around through the back way and just have the ebook get published through draft to digital, and then send an email and be like, this is actually my book. Can you link these up? Usually I say if you're draft to digital for every other platform, and then Amazon do it on its own. But this is the first time Amazon's done something like that, where they're like, you don't have the copyright. It's like, I definitely do. Now I could sell that book other ways. I've sold it through Patreon, kind of as part of the membership. Like, you get whatever I'm live writing, you get that free on Patreon. So join my Patreon, and you can read whatever I'm doing for free, which is great. Fun stuff. You can see exactly what my process is. But I could sell it, I could sell it with BookFunnel. I could sell it like on my own shop, basically. I could sell it through draft to digital on every other platform if I want to. And another thing you can do is you can sell something for free. So this is often the question, like, how do I build an audience? This is related to marketing, even though it's maybe not marketing exactly. It's like, an audience is not exactly people who are interested in your product. They're people who are interested in you or whatever you're saying, and maybe interested in some of your products. But as far as building an audience goes, this is the most challenging thing that I can think of doing. And I'm only marginally successful at it, so keep that in mind, right? Like, I only have about 50,000 followers, which is not that much, to be honest. If it was that much, then I don't know. I guess I'd have more money. But yeah, it's not that much. But it's enough that you can sell books and can have an audience and have people that are interested in what you're saying. And so how do I build that audience? Well, I just made a lot of content in a lot of different areas and kind of saw what stuck and made more of what stuck. And when that stopped sticking, I had to think of new things to do because the algorithm changes. Your audience gets bored by what you're doing. You have to do new things. There's a lot that goes into it. So let's talk about a couple strategies for building an audience. Garamesh and the Farmer was free, right? So that's what I was going to say. A free book. Let me find Garamesh and the Farmer. It's free. It's a fairy tale. It's like a kid's book. But it actually is related to a lot of my stuff that I do. So I'll just link it. You can read it for free. I think it's still free. Maybe it's 99 cents. I don't know. If you look, that's a little cover that I designed with my nephew. Because he wanted to know about book cover design, so we designed a little cover using a couple of little Adobe programs. Pretty simple stuff, and I think a stock photo. Anyway, the one thing Hardwick says, the one thing about aggregators, draft to digital, book vault, etc., that I haven't found an answer to is whether Amazon Prime shipping for physical copies works with any of them. I don't have that answer either, but that's why, let's say I'm doing physicals, I would still go Amazon and then the others. It might be the same printers. Like I know my book, this one, was printed here in Texas. Coppell, Texas, 10th of May, 2024. You can't read it, but that's what it says. So, yeah. Cool. Printed right here in Texas. They're printed in different locations depending on where you're ordering or things like that. I don't know all of their logistics. I just know it happens. So I would still do Amazon's and then do theirs to get it on like Barnes & Noble and stuff like that. Now Amazon will do expanded distribution. Like if you look on Barnes & Noble, you can find my books, most of my books. And they're actually sold by Amazon, but Amazon will distribute them to Barnes & Noble so people can order them through the Barnes & Noble website or at your local Barnes & Noble bookstore. You'd be like, I want to order Water of Awakening. You want that Water of Awakening, that sweet Water of Awakening hardback. I want it from Barnes & Noble. And yeah, you can get it. I have book 3 of this coming out. In fact, you're going to get book 1 of book 3 because it's really 3 books worth of stuff. But like you get book 1 of book 3 if you are a patron. That I'll have that out this week. So I finished it last night. So that'll be out this week. Okay, how do you build an audience? Let me give you a few ways. Number 1 is making content. Just make a lot of content. And try to make that content as good and as interesting as possible. Hopefully towards your audience that you want to cultivate that would be interested in buying your books. So if you're writing science fiction books, make a lot of content on science fiction. Pretty simple. You just make a lot of that. The other way is with a free reader. So Garamesh and the Farmer is free. I think it may still go to the wrong... I think there may be a link inside to the wrong mailing list. So I think I'm still getting people signing up on the mailing list on MailChimp when it should be going to Email Octopus. So I might need to check that book. But in any event, you put out a free book. What does the free book get you? Well, people, they download the free book, they read it, they join your mailing list. You have to set up a mailing list. You can use Email Octopus. That's what I use now. Or you can use MailChimp. That's what I used in the past. The reason I don't currently use MailChimp is their politics are completely woke now. But they also are not very customer focused. And their website has gotten unusable. Like their interface is the worst interface for... Like their interface used to be good. Now it's the worst website I've ever used, almost. You know, it's terrible, and it's completely obtuse trying to figure out how to do really basic things in it. So now I don't really recommend MailChimp. They've obliterated their product, and you can't really trust to do business with them. If you are to the left of Mao, to the right of Mao. If you're to the left of Mao, you might be in trouble too. But, you know, if you are moderate or conservative, you're in danger of getting canceled as soon as anybody knows about you. I can see my kids playing on the couch behind me. That's kind of funny. They're playing. My daughter's doing something funny. My son's playing a video game or something. Oh, Muramasa. I can link Muramasa. This was the first book I published. Muramasa Blood Drinker. It's a good one. If you like samurai, action, action, action! And you'll like this one. It's good. It seems like there's finally starting to become countermarket to woke companies. Yeah, for managing an email list and auto-emailing people, this is not a super complicated product. So there's lots of other ones that you can use, like Email Octopus or MailerLite. MailerLite's also woke, but anyway. I'm trying to think, this was an old thing, like anything that's not explicitly right-wing will become left-wing over time. Anyway. But that's a danger, right? It's a danger unless you are completely like part of the woke cult that you'll get canceled for using MailChimp eventually. It is a shame that companies didn't just stay apolitical, but the culture wars consumed all things. Well, from the left's perspective, it's necessary to do that march through the institutions, and good. It's morally good. So canceling someone and reducing your income for your company is a good thing if you are canceling someone who is bad. It has a good moral decision. So what you're dealing with here is they have a moral vision and you have an amoral vision. Which one's going to win? Well, the moral vision is going to win. If you're like, well, we should just do business. Great. That is fantastic. I love that view. The other side doesn't have that. Their view is you should be punished severely until you die. So which one of those is more likely to win? Game theory wise, right? So over time, anytime you have somebody who is part of that cult and they're in the death cult, they get in the company, they just start doing death cult things because that's their morality. Just like how like any other extremely zealous religious person, if they think it's morally correct to do things, then they'll do those, right? Just like how if you joined a company and they're like, here's how we steal from our customers, and you'd be like, well, I think we should not steal from our customers. They'll be like, bringing your politics into this. You have a moral vision that includes not stealing and cheating people. You're going to have a conflict if you're at an insurance company where they're like, this was in a book called The Rainmaker by John Grisham, where their default company policy is just to deny all claims and to never pay out, right? That's a problem. That's a moral problem. Now, it's not a moral problem for the people who run it, obviously, because they're doing that, but it's a moral problem for you. So what do you do if you work at that company? Well, I have to pay out these claims because it's morally correct to pay out the claim when someone needs the claim money. It's like, yeah, you're going to do that. It's making the company less money, though. It's hurting the company, but it's morally right. So when I give that script to people, they're like, oh, I totally understand why someone would do the moral thing. Well, for them, the moral thing is making sure that you're not allowed to use a bank. For the death cultists, the moral thing is making sure you don't get to drive your car. For the death cultists, the moral thing is making sure your kids are harassed at school. It's making sure that you're not physically safe at night. It's making sure that you can't work and will never work again. That is the morally correct thing for them to do from their perspective. So you can, of course, expect anybody who's part of that cult to just be doing things according to their morality. Otherwise, you're asking them to do what this bad insurance company from John Grisham, if you happen to work at it, would ask you to do, which is to do an immoral thing in order to make the company more money. So they'll do the moral thing that'll hurt their company as long as they think it's morally correct. Okay? So the only way you defeat that moral vision, I've had Brian Niemeyer on many times, and he always says this, the only way to defeat a moral vision is with a superior moral vision. So your moral vision needs to be not like, we'll do business with anyone, but like, no, we'll do business with, this is what is actually good and not what they say, right? All right, great question from Hardwick. So hopefully I've covered like how to build an audience. You just have, it takes a long time. Free books will get people on your list. Free books that you can take those free books and you can get them part of like collections on BookFunnel where people will download 50 books and your book's in it and maybe they sample your book and jump on your list. Getting in collections I know lots of people built their list with the Corona Chan collection, which I put out back in 2020. It was a completely free collection. Of course, if you bought the paperback, that cost $12. But I have that one over here too. This is a list building thing. You know, we're all in this. I of course put my book at the back to disadvantage myself the most because I did all the work putting this together. So of course I put myself at the end. It's a matter of honor. Anyway, the thing is that you got to bat cleanup, and my book was really good, so it's bat and cleanup. So with this, it's a lot of different authors. They have the links for their mailing list. You hop on their mailing list, you get, you know, build an audience that way. So get into collections like that, get into like mass book downloads, whatever you're going to do with your free book. And your free book contains your mailing list, and you build and mailing lists are still valuable because you can market directly to people. You can send them an email and be like, this is for sale, here's why you should buy it. You get to cut through all the noise of like, maybe they don't see the Facebook ad, or maybe they don't watch the video or read the article you put out that they should read in order to hopefully buy your product. So direct marketing email stuff is still valuable because you can cut through all the noise and just talk straight to somebody as a person to person. Here's my book, it's out, here's why I think it's good, you can get it, here's what people are already saying about it. Person clicks it, opens it, buys the book. They already have a relationship with you in a lot of cases. When you're managing an email list, you have to think of them as somebody that you still need to be giving value to. So I still will publish a lot of articles, and they're on the email list, so everybody's aware of the free value I'm giving out. I'll give out free books every year, maybe, on my birthday or something like that, and so that keeps people interested in whatever I've got with the list. Anyway, Hardwick says, how important is a good pen name in terms of marketing? Can a memorable one help? I think so. Does syllable number count? I think so. You want to keep it short enough that it's easy to memorize. So let's imagine we are going to write a romance novel, because I would never publish a romance novel under my own name. It's not that I'm against romance, even if I'm writing like really clean, like Mennonite romance or something. It just doesn't jive with the rest of my brand, which is about like horror and sci-fi and fantasy and fantasy horror. A lot of horror. There's a lot of horror elements in my book. People are like, man, it's super gruesome. I'm like, was it? It didn't seem that gruesome to me, but okay. I'm weird. But anyway, let's imagine we're going to write a romance novel. Picking a pen name for that can be important. So you want to pick something that is going to sound like it's correct for the genre. So for romance, I would pick a name like Sandra Strong. Alliterations are really powerful. Sandra Strong, or I don't know, Sandra Simpson. It's just whatever bland. I like Strong better because it seems like, would someone really have that last name Strong? What a cool last name. If it just sounds like a cool word, people will buy it. You could James Jehoshaphat. Right, but I'd be Sandra Strong. Why a female pen name? Well, marketers will tell you that women are more likely to buy books from other women, and the main readers of romance are women. So they'll buy books from men, but they're more likely, if they see a bunch, they're aware if a man wrote it and whether there's going to be something weird in it, but they're more likely to buy from other women. Just how it is with romance. So yeah, I'd name it Sandra Strong. Jackie Holloway. Sandra Strong. Sandra Hard. If you're writing erotica, you want it to sound like a porn star name. Sandra Hard. If you're writing, let's say you're writing fantasy, you really want it to sound like a fantasy writer name. So think of some of the fantasy writers you know about, and you'll notice that almost all of them are white. And there's a lot of initials. George J.R.R. Tolkien, George R.R. Martin, multiple middle names. Now I could do David V.D. Stewart, but then you have V.D. in there, and that's just not. You don't want that. I could do DVD Stewart, right? DVD Stewart. That might be a good way to like. I'll put that on a book sometime. DVD Stewart. Might be good, right? George R.R. Martin. J.K. Rowling. Is there some others that I'm thinking of? L. Sprague de Camp. Who else? I could probably just look. Longer names with initials. Robert E. Howard. H.P. Lovecraft. So I think keeping it short, if it's going to get too long, just use initials. Right? That's what I would do. And you want it to kind of resonate with that. And like a, you know, what would be a sci-fi? It would probably work for sci-fi too. Things like that. You want to have if you have a somewhat exotic sounding last name, that could be, you know, like Asimov or Zelensky, then I think that's a cool last name to have. Did you see the new Shogun? I haven't really watched it. I really need to and do content on it for content marketing purposes. I've just been so short on time, and my ability to watch TV shows is almost non-existent. I have so little time to watch any kind of passive entertainment, and very little desire to be honest. So I really need to watch it to do some content on it. But like maybe I'll just really focus hard on cardio for a month and like get out my garage and run for an hour a night or something and watch that. Or do like an uphill walk. You know, running and watching TV is hard, but like you can do a good uphill walk, or like I have a bike. Get on the bike and do it that way. I can watch passive things while doing cardio because I'm more occupied. It's just any kind of boredom I would feel kind of goes into my feet, you know. But most passive entertainment, and especially TV, because TV just is very slow compared to a movie. It just bores me. Now I say that to people and they're like, you should try reading a book. I'm like, I read books all the time, all day long. Books are the opposite of boring, right? If a book is, books are the opposite. They're so much less boring than TV to me. It's wild. Like, I just find TV the most boring medium that I can imagine is TV. Zero interactivity, completely passive things. All your senses, they're trying to manipulate all your senses at once. And even while they're doing that, I'm bored because I'm aware of what they're doing. I have to slowly listen to people say lines or look at ugly people nowadays or whatever. It's just not very entertaining compared to video games or books. So, people who are bored reading books, I think it's got to be that they just read really slow, maybe. I don't know. Or they can't imagine the character. They're not engaged with it. I'm imagining the character saying things. That's why democracy in America only worked when we had similar values. Yep. The death cult is out in the open now, though, so at least there's that clear target. Yeah. It only works when people have shared, basically, religious values. And even if we can argue over the civil values, there's like a shared understanding of virtue and morality that kind of underpins that. Like, if you're discussing like the morality even of something that caused a war, like slavery, you're approaching it from like the same religion. You're approaching it from a Christian perspective and debating things from that perspective. Whereas now it's like you wouldn't even know where to begin that conversation if someone believed in slavery. You're just like, if they're a nihilist, like, why not have slaves? People could sell themselves into slavery. Totally. It's like, I don't even know where to begin addressing that because you don't believe in virtue. You don't believe virtue exists or there is morality. Do we know any famous authors who also use another pen name for stuff that doesn't fit their brand? Absolutely. Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan's real name. What is his real name? It's James Oliver Rigney. But he had several pen names. Robert Jordan was his fantasy pen name. He wrote Conan books under Robert Jordan. And then, let's see here. He also published historical fiction using the pseudonym Reagan O'Neill, a Western as Jackson O'Reilly, and dance criticism, as Chang Lung. He did a straight-up Chinese. He did a straight-up Chinese pen name, Robert Jordan did. Jordan claimed to have ghostwritten an international thriller that is still believed to have been written by someone else. I would love to know what that is. An international thriller. Politically, he described himself as a libertarian monarchist, so he's right there with Tolkien. Tolkien would be like, I'm an anarchist monarchist. How does that work? It works, you idiot. Works because we say so. Sarah Sundry. That's a good one. I like names like Sandra. S's are good for romance. I don't know why. Make it sound sexy. Sensual. Are names with longer surnames like R.A. Salvatore? There's another initial in the fantasy writers one. A detriment, or can they work well? I think they work great. I think initials work great. R.A. Salvatore is a great name. You want it to like stand out. Now, I use David V. Stewart. It's a boring name. Maybe I should have used a better pen name. But I didn't think about that when I was publishing my first books, and so I'm kind of stuck with my boring ass name. Unless I want to start and tear everything down and rename everything, I could do it. I could rebrand everything with a new pen name. I could be J.P. Williger or something, right? Technically, I think I could change all the author names on all my books on Amazon. I'm not 100% sure I can do that, but I think I can. I could change them all and change all of the book covers. And if somebody questioned me about it, I could just say I was trans, right? I'd be like, that's my dead name. I'm trans now. But it's also a male name. Quiet you. Or, I mean, if I was really clever, I'd use a female name. Because women are more likely to buy books from other women. Optionality is usually for choosing a female pen name, unless you're writing for a really heavily male audience, and they might discriminate. But I don't think they do. I think women are more discriminatory than men. But it's mostly has to do with romance. Like, they don't really trust men to write about women's feelings, I guess. I don't know. I'm using initials only because my surname is such a boomer name. My name, David Stewart, is the second most common name in the history of the United States. David Stewart is super common. It's like John Smith is one and David Stewart's like 2 or 3. J.K. Rowling writes mysteries as Robert Galbraith. Great example, yeah. I haven't read any of those. I probably could. Yeah, Stephen King used Richard Bachman, but that wasn't for something outside the brand. So I want to clarify that, because all the Richard Bachman stuff is clearly understood to be Stephen King now. The reason he wrote Richard Bachman was his publishers refused to publish all his books. He wrote so many books for that time that they felt that the audience would not accept more than about 1 or 2 new books per author per year. So his extra books he published as Richard Bachman. It wasn't that they were off-brand or like a different genre. It was just he wrote too many books. So he used the pen name for that reason. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, Stephen King is Richard Bachman. He did publish a book under Richard Bachman lately, just to kind of, hey, here's another Bachman book, because most of his Bachman books are a little more pulpy, a little more action-oriented, and a little less like horror than his main stuff, but it's still pretty much horror, you know. Like The Running Man is a science fiction kind of thriller. That's a Richard Bachman book, a good one. I like the movie adaptation. Might actually be better than the book, but the book is definitely a cool idea too. Very in the vein of like classic 60s, 70s sci-fi, 80s sci-fi. As a Tolkien fan, I have to ask: did you hear about the new Gollum movie they're making? Yes, I thought it had to be a joke, but they made the Gollum game, so I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be bad, I'm sure. Like they're making a War of the Rohirrim animated movie. Doubt that'll be good. And that probably has the best chance of being good because of the medium. Rings of Power, of course, I refused to watch that, and that was a good decision because it's awful. And everybody involved in it basically said that we're going to make it awful, and we hate the source material. So, and we hate you for liking it. And that's the meta of this show. Is that you're a pay pig. Give us money, you pay pig. And we're going to make a show about how bad you are. You took our gerbs in Numenor. There's already a fan film of The Hunt for Gollum. Yeah, Warner Brothers had it taken down, but I think they got it back up. 50 Shades by Chang Long. I'm going to have to check it out. Yeah, I never watched the fan film. I should do more fan film. Like, let me evaluate this fan film, and then... You guys like fantasy, right? Here's a fantasy book. Book 3 of this fantasy series is coming out soon, so you can buy the first one. It's an Odyssey. Sure to please fans of The Hobbit. And the Silmarillion. Yeah. I went with J.M. Prescott. That's a good one. Just because it was my uncle's name. Never met him, but he had the same disease I ended up with, and it killed him. Wow. I wonder what disease that was. You don't have to tell me, but that's an interesting story, man. All right. We talked a little bit about marketing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would talk about. Or do you like do live with marketing? We can do like the live right. We can do some like live ads creation, but there's not that much to creating ads. And I'd have to like really think about how to do ads really good now. And that might be hard. It might be hard to like communicate easily because a lot of times the default ad is like the most effective one. It's just a picture of the book. Click the book, and people click it because they like the cover. Garth Nix, fantasy writer, is his real name apparently. Nix means night. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be a cool pen name. I mean, if I was smarter, I would have done a pen name from the beginning. But, you know, it's what it is. I didn't know what the hell I was doing 10 years ago, so I learned by doing. And then you sell enough books, you're like, I can't start over from ground zero. I have 5 reviews already. James Oliver Rigney Jr. It could be J.O. Rigney. Oh, that's not good. J.O. That wouldn't be good. David V.D. Stewart here. You have the V.D.? Okay. Talk to my friend J.O. Rigney. Got my other friend B.J. Penn. There's a really funny pen named Sean Wuntjo who wrote, I don't even know if you can get the book anymore. And I can actually get banned by saying the title of the book. I'm just thinking about that. I can't even tell you about this book because I'll get banned for even mentioning it. And it's not like a 200 years together kind of not allowed. It's like the title of the book, just mentioning it has words that are forbidden on the YouTubes and all the other sites as well. Writer syndrome. Oh, like Crohn's disease and lupus? Oh, interesting. Yeah, every time I have something go wrong, the doctor's like, it could be lupus. I'm like, I don't think I have lupus. I think I have acute blepharitis in my left eyelid, and I don't know why. That's the last thing I had. I was like, my eyelid's swollen. It's like blepharitis. Could be lupus. I'm like, I don't think it's lupus. This is like a, you know, and I had iritis in my left eye too. My left eye is always getting, not always, but it's had like 2 weird things over the last few years. So I had iritis, and the first thing the ophthalmologist, whatever, the first thing she said was like, you know, do you have any autoimmune diseases? It could be lupus. You're not HIV positive, are you? I'm like, nope. No way. I was like, okay. Dr. House said it's never lupus. But that's always the thing, right? It's like, can you give the book name and synonyms? I don't think I could. Earl Gay. What's the other one? Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle. Writes The Tinglers, the dinosaur erotica. It's never lupus. Speaking of titles that can get you banned for saying, try Googling the phrase 1992 space movie. Just look at it. Writer syndrome comes with iritis. Maybe I have that. I don't think I do. I think it was, I'll tell you what I think it was, is I installed a bunch of insulation, a bunch of bat insulation by myself in ceilings in a giant space. And I had goggles, and like full seal up goggles, but it was 90% humidity and like 90 degrees while I was doing it, because I did it last summer. So frequently I would have to take the goggles off and clean out the condensation. I put some anti-condensation drops in there, and just the whole thing was just full of sweat, like a puddle of sweat under here. And so I think doing that with gloves that had the fibers, I think I got some in my eye, and that's what caused it. Was the little pieces of fiberglass got in the eye and caused inflammation. But the eye doctor was like, no, we don't know what's causing this. It's impossible to know. Most of the time it resolves though. But you could have lupus. I'm like, I don't think it's lupus. Put these eye drops in every 3 hours. No, it was like every 2 hours. Put a drop in this eye. I had to give it's a corticosteroid, prednisone or prednisolone eye drops. Put them in every 2 hours, then every 3 hours, then every 4 hours. It's like, if you just stop using this, your eye might explode. It's like, okay, I won't do that. I will taper off. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I think it was. I was installing, all of this insulation, and I was really careful. Like, I was very careful with the insulation, and it's still, I would get down and have to loofah my arms because I would have ended up with somehow getting insulation dust past. I talked to a guy who does it a lot, and he's like, oh yeah, he gets pantyhose and rips them up and puts them on his sleeves and then puts a shirt on top of it. I was like, it was so hot though. But anyway, I got that done instead of writing a book, so that was cool. Spicy book title. I've had 100 iritis attacks. Damn, dude. Yeah. The iritis. I didn't know about it till I had it. I was like, yeah, my eye's red. And my wife's like, maybe you have conjunctivitis. I'm like, there's no mucus or anything. It's just the iris. It hurts. Light hurts my eyes. It was iritis, which sounds like it's a fake. It sounds like a fake disease, right? No, you have iritis. Oh, let me just take some medicine for my bonitis. My only regret is that I didn't cure bonitis. It's like, no, iritis is real. It's iris-itis. Not like iritis. It's like, I have iritis. No, what's really wrong with you? Don't lie. No, that's what it's called. It's like inflammation of your iris. Very uncomfortable. And the thing was, your eye would hurt if the lights turned on because your iris couldn't contract. So the lights are turned on, and you're slowly your iris is ow, 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 ow. Okay, now we're comfortable. And she also made me put dilating drops in my eye. Boop. For the first few days so that the iris wouldn't do that. That was awful. Just blind. I'm just blind unless it's total darkness. When iritis gets bad, you have to have shots in the eyes. Oh my God. And do Pred Forte eye drops every 15 minutes. Good night. There was a joke from the critic. It's I found a cure for Lou Gehrig's disease. I just have to inject 4 ounces of this little baby into my eyeball every 30 minutes for the rest of my life. It's oh God. Did they see any damage in your eyes? No. It's actually called anterior uveitis. Iritis makes it easier for doctors to tell patients. Well, there you go. Putting in, and the thing is, I'm weird with my eyes. I don't like anything touching my eyes. If I'm swimming, I put on goggles. I don't like water in my eyes. I had to put eye drops in my eyes, and that was just it was a little bit of trauma every hour. I think what it was. We had to start every hour and then go down from there until I was doing it 3 times a day and then 2 times a day, and then it could stop. The iris will actually melt and stick shut when it gets really bad. That's why you dilate the eyes. If they did not see damage, that would be why they suspected autoimmune. They could have not seen damage because I just refused to go to the doctor for it. I'm it's probably just fiberglass. I'm not going to the doctor. I have a friend who tore her cornea from it drying out because of her CPAP mask leaked air into her eye all night. Wow. It gets stuck to the eyelid. That would be painful. I think the huge eye floater I now have in my right eye might be a Writestream from a posterior vitreous detachment. Apparently it's normal if you're over 40, but I'm only 30. I don't know, man. I'm always worried about my eyes. Yeah. Ouch. All right. Maybe, what time is it? 8:14. I got enough time. We can do a little bit of live writing. Let's finish up that little scene I was going to write in the book, and then we'll get that out to patrons. And patrons will also get book 1 of Leper King, or King Leper. So that'll happen this week as well. Let me find it. I have so many windows open right now. Close, close, close everything. All right. That's King Leper, if you want to see it. Boom, there it is. That'll be going out. That's just book 1 here. So, yeah, like Prelude, the Butcher. Where is it? Close Grammarly. We don't want Grammarly open. Get that out of here. All right. Hop down here to chapter 6. How long is this sucker so far? That's not right. No way, it's 208 words. It's 13,000 words. It can't be 208 words. 208 pages. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to assume that's wrong. Well, you can't see it on your screen anyway. Don't worry about it. Do you use Google Analytics much? Not really. If I'm using analytics, it's mostly to do with the pages that I'm using. So like Amazon, YouTube. Those are a lot deeper and more helpful. Google Analytics, I mean, you can use it for certain things. It just depends on what you're doing. Like if you're running a lot through a website, then it might be a little bit more useful. But if you're running like just Amazon stuff, you probably don't need it. I don't need to use it much anyway. Okay. All right, Alfred goes to see his mother. She grows lucid for a moment and cries, mentioning Pepin. Alfred tries to get more out of her, but is interrupted by Victoria, who drags him away. Yeah, the KDP, well, yeah, Amazon's KDP analytics. There's also, Amazon has analytics for other products as well. So if you're selling things on Amazon, there's analytics that you can use for that. Yeah, it's like the KDP sales pages. They have a lot of info that you can use. Plus, Amazon advertising will track everything that your ad is doing, pretty much. I really hate using Amazon ads at this point, so I don't use them much. I have a couple of ads going that kind of sell stuff, but they're not really doing that much. And that's just because you have to... Doing Amazon ads is almost like its own job. It's like people who use hundreds of keywords, thousands of keywords, and they're A/B testing everything. It's like... it's just such a pain in the ass for most of it. It's better to advertise on a different platform where you can target a lot better. Because like what Amazon does is like, give us your money and then see if it works. See if you're reaching the people you want to. Whereas on Facebook, you can just reach those people. And so you know whether your ad copy is working or not. Well, I'm getting to the people who should buy this, but they're not buying it, which means I need to up my ad copy game. Whereas with Amazon, you're like, I don't know why this isn't working. I got to try out like 30 different things to get it to work. I mean, I could do like try to do a separate stream just on Amazon advertising. Like we could do that for the new book or whatever. I'm not going to have as much to say as a lot of other authors who use it a lot more and are honestly just willing to dump a lot more money into it. There's a lot of people who would really like to dump. If I was going to dump any kind of serious money into it, I would probably hire someone else to do all that for me too, just as an efficiency gain. I don't want to spend my time doing that. It's a job I don't want, that I have to do a job which I do want. All right. Offered her nothing else as he dashed down the hall. Need a name for the woman. That's going to be an old woman. Need a name for her. So what am I going to name her? We need like an old Saxon name. Just name her Sarah. We'll give her a Christian name. Let's just say, despite the rocky motion for aged girth. What's the old steward's name? I think it's Jory. Yes. That's it. Sometimes the Amazon price of a self-published book drops down extremely low, and when ordering it, it usually says there are only a few copies left. Is this a common phenomenon? Yes. Yes, it'll just say that all the time. Yeah. Ethelred. I already have an Ethelready. Most underrated name ever. Siona. Brunhilde. Those are all good names. I'm just going to go with Sarah. I'm going to go with the Christian name. Siona Atreides was the woman who killed Leto III. Well, I thought Leto II. No, Leto III was the sandworm, right? Leto the Second was the one who died. What causes the price drops? Is it automated by Amazon? I don't know. I think Kursova's has to do with the fact that they distribute through Lulu, but I don't know for sure. I haven't noticed it with mine, so I don't know. So I saw a message I want to respond to. I'm trying to get my book down to 1,200 pages, but I'm running out of stuff to cut. Instead of trying to cut, you need to volumize. All right, 1,200 pages is going to be too long for almost anything. So you need to look at where you can break the story up into. It depends what you mean by 1,200 pages. 1,200 8.5 by 11 pages, single spaced, would be like 600,000 words, which means you should break that up into like 6 books. So yeah, I would just break it up into 6 books. Sell it as a 6-book series. You'll make more money that way, even if it drops off as like a cliffhanger. That's going to be better. So yeah, I wouldn't publish a 1,200 page book or worry too much about cutting. Instead, I would break it up into 6 to 10 books and sell it as a series. Maybe even 20 books. All right, 305,000 words. I don't know what kind of formatting you're using to get 1,200 pages out of that, but break it up into 3 books. It's my recommendation. You will sell a lot more, and you will get more reviews. People will be able to read through book 1 that's 100,000 words and give you a review. Maybe even break it up into 6 books that are 50,000 words. You'll get probably more reviews that way. The first book I really wrote was like 400,000 words too, but I broke it up into like a bunch of different books, so it works. And I still cut, but you know, if you break it up into smaller volumes, you'll have a much better idea what is working and what's not within that volume. You'll realize that within this context, there's a lot of fat to cut, and you'll be able to cut that fat probably a little better. Yeah. So yeah, I'd break it up into multiple books. It's a better sales strategy. It's a better reader retention strategy. You'll make more money. You'll get more reviews probably. It's a lot easier to sell somebody on a book that takes them 3 hours to read versus 15 or 20. So anyway, it'll probably be better if you do that. So I would look into do that. Strongly consider breaking it up into multiple volumes is my recommendation. Very few people are going to be able to publish a 305,000 word book as their first book and be successful with it. Better to go a lot shorter. Muramasa, by comparison, is 125. And that's about what Water of Awakening is. When you get too much past that, King Leper's 180,000. That's long. That's long enough that I'm hesitant to publish it as one volume because I don't think anyone will actually review it when it's that long. People like to read and then immediately review. So helping people to get to the end of the book, it's better, I think. All right, where was I? Her name is Gwendolyn, right? Let's see if it's on here. Find it. Is it okay to leave the origin of a plot device as something that can't be explained? I can't think of a satisfying explanation of a part of the world, but I just think it's better to not do so. Yeah, you don't really have to. Gardens of the Moon was 200,000 words, if I remember right. That's still... You know, he wasn't getting into the 300,000 word range till, like, Memories of Ice, probably. So, yeah, if you're reading Malazan, Malazan's probably the best example of modern fantasy, and by that I mean, like, the best exemplar of its style, but also the best execution of what it does. You can love it or hate it, but if you want what modern fantasy is aspiring to be, almost always, it's Malazan, Book of the Fallen. If you want the best books in the series, it's number 2, Dead House Gates is the best in the series, followed by number 1, Gardens of the Moon, is, in my opinion, number 2. A lot of people don't like that first one. I don't know why, but I like it. And then number 6, Midnight Tides. Those are the best 3. Memories of Ice is okay. What's another one? I feel like once you get to the Bone Hunters, Toll the Hounds, they feel long. They start to feel really long at that point. You know? And sometimes you read a book and there's really 3 different books crammed into that book that are completely unrelated to one another. You know, there's one of them that has Karsa Orlong and it's just his story, but it's interspersed with like Icarium or someone else wandering through the desert. In Dead House Gates you have that, but they're at least somewhat tangential to each other. And in Gardens of the Moon they're close to somewhat related to each other. But like a lot of the books, it's like this should just be 3 different books. Like the plots aren't related. We should just split it up into 3 books where like it's just that story instead of dividing it up. Yeah, Steven Erikson, I mean, I can't think of anybody doing modern fantasy better than him. Big, overblown, dozens, hundreds of characters, extremely ancient setting that's completely thought out, hyper complex magic system, gods, religion. Like his religion part is the weakest part, and I think that's just because nothing in that book resembles religion as we've known it historically. But the gods are super involved in things, so that's probably part of it. But yeah, really complex world building, all that stuff that modern fantasy aspires to do, that's what Erikson just does. So I can't think of anybody doing it better. I'm actually a fan of Malazan, but I feel like the series starts to fall off after Midnight Tides. That's my opinion. Bone Hunters... What's the last one? Dust of Dreams? No, the last one's The Crippled God. I don't feel like it really pulls things to any kind of conclusion. Or not a great one, but it's okay. The books start to feel longer. It's the same thing, honestly, with Wheel of Time, but not as bad as Wheel of Time. At least you get complete stories with, like, Toll the Hounds. There's, like, actual things that happen, you know. Dust of Dreams is terrible. Yeah, I don't think I was a big fan of it. I don't know if he wrote too fast or what, but the books feel long, whereas, like, Memories of Ice is a long book that doesn't feel long. Dead House Gates is a long book that doesn't feel long. Even Midnight Tides doesn't feel as long as it is. But for whatever reason, Bone Hunters felt like it's just like, we're not going anywhere. We're just going around. Here we are. We're in the same place. With the same characters for like 800 pages. That might be. Maybe Dust of Dreams is like that too. In this day, especially now with AI voice cloning and deepfakes, do you think it's safer to avoid letting one's face or voice be online? I have no idea how to answer that because my voice and face is already online. I know that if I was going to do it all over again, I would be anonymous. If I was able to do it all over again, you would never see my face or know my name. I am my brand because a lot of the stuff I started was to sell guitar lessons. I made a YouTube channel to attract business to then get people to come take guitar lessons from me. This was like back in 2013 or something. A lot of those videos I got rid of because they just don't, they're not very good and they don't have anything to do with what I do now. But yeah, if I could do it over again, I would be completely anonymous. I would not have my face or my name out there, and probably now I might even consider scrambling my voice somehow. Like maybe just lowering the pitch. I got something stuck in my teeth, sorry. Lowering the pitch a minor third. So it's like everything sounds like this. You know, just dropping the pitch with like a modulator or something. A pitch shifter. And I'd have everything be audio visual but never see my face. Yeah, VTuber, I'd do that if I were starting. If I were starting in 2024, I would do something that's not my actual face. And the other thing is, people always comment on how you look. They're like, "You look old now. You look young now. Did you lose weight?" "No, I trimmed my beard." "You look fat now. You look sweaty now. You look like you just got home from the gym." It's like, nah, it's just hot, you know. What's with the guitar? It's kind of cool to have stuff because people comment on guitars or the lava lamp. You know, that's all part of making it. And it's more personal with the face, but I feel like now the optionality, I probably wouldn't do it, you know. Especially, it was very eye-opening to criticize Star Wars and get death threats because I said a Star Wars movie wasn't good. Say people were going to find and kill me, or like have people calling my place of work trying to get me fired because I said online that I didn't think a Star Wars movie was good. People are insane. But anyway. Yeah. For Zedel, I'd probably just volumize it. You'll probably make more money in the indie sphere. I mean, if you're going trad, you might be able to sell that, but they'll probably be like, "No, we only want to do. We'll volumize it into 3 books because it's better for sales." So yeah, I would really consider breaking your book up into 3. Yeah. What's her name? Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn. We're gonna have Victoria come in earlier. All right, that's the end of that chapter. And we're about out of time for the stream. I know you went with DVS Press for your press name, but oops, I missed that. What do you think of using a press name unrelated to one's pen name? That's great. Wonderbook Press. Yeah, all that stuff's great. I think that's probably a good idea. I just went with one that kind of goes with my branding. In your previous stream, you mentioned that comic writers suffer from limited knowledge in storytelling. I was wondering what fiction books you recommend to expand one's storytelling knowledge. Anything that's a book. Classics are a good one. So read classic drama, read a little bit of Iliad and Odyssey, read some classic drama, Greek drama, up through like Shakespeare, of course. Take a look at Canterbury Tales, even a translation into like modern English of Canterbury Tales. Read more stuff from the early 20th century, like Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert E. Howard. Read stuff from the 19th century. You can read Charles Dickens. Any of the classic stuff is going to be good to read. Dracula is a great book. So just find what it is that you like to read and read it. The reason comic writers tend to be worse is that they are most obsessed with the comic medium and therefore are not aware of what inspired that medium to begin with. This is true of the artists as well as the writers. I have to generalize because otherwise I can't make any kind of pattern. But the artists tend to be like, Greg Liefeld and be inspired by other comic artists and therefore have limited illustration skills. And the writers tend to be like a lot of modern writers whose names are slipping my mind because they're just maybe not that important. And they're inspired by comic writers like, Neil Gaiman. Not realizing that Neil Gaiman had a really deep knowledge of storytelling from all mediums. Drama, books, all of that. So just find stuff that you think is cool. There's a free audiobook of Dracula on Amazon. Great place to start if you want to understand the entire vampire thing. Great place to start. Excellent place to start for modern horror too, to be honest. And gothic horror kind of crosses over to that a little bit, I think. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, just read a lot of classic stuff. There's a lot of great classic stuff. Read James Fenimore Cooper if you want to have a good handle on adventure stories. Even though that's like frontier kind of stuff, it's got a great plots, great characters. Count of Monte Cristo. So Alexander Dumas, The Three Musketeers. These are great classic adventure books. I think the stories hold up even in translation, so they're great to read. If you want to actually have like depth of like theme, Dostoevsky, also Charles Dickens, but Charles Dickens is very much mid-19th century entertainment for most of his books. That's probably why they're still pretty readable. Same thing with Alexander Dumas. Three Musketeers is great. Yep, Project Gutenberg has lots of free ones. You can read free Robert E. Howard books. There's free H.P. Lovecraft is free, so you can read all that for free. What else? I think a lot of the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff is free still. There's the Shadow books, the early Shadow books by Walter B. Gibson are free. They're in public domain, so you can read those. At least you could sample them and see whether you want to read the whole book. Just read the first part and see if it's good and you want to read it, and then keep reading it if you like it. Boom. All right, I think that's about it. Someone just got me Brothers Karamazov for my birthday, so that's a great one. It's a lot of Russian sitting around talking about God. So you have to be really good about the talking about God part to pull that book off. And for the most part, he does it. And I still think it's another one of those books that is still good in translation. Brothers Karamazov. It's about active love. It's about real charity. What is real charity? What is actually loving another person? And how does that solve problems? The Doc Savage and Shadow books are not public domain in the U.S. Condé Nast owns them. Interesting. I thought the first Shadow book was, because I think I have it. I could be wrong, though. H.P. Lovecraft is in the public domain. Some Robert E. Howard is, not all of it. You know. Last of the Mohicans is good. Yeah. All the longs, the what are they called? The Leather Stocking Tales by James. It's kind of funny. Mark Twain wrote a whole essay like bashing James Fenimore Cooper, and it just made me want to read him more. Yeah. So those are all great. Try out lots of stuff. You can go to a bookstore and just look at the classic section and just read the first page of a bunch of them until you find something you like and just read that. The main thing is, like, you want to find things that resonate with you and are fun to read, not just things which are historically important. Princess of Mars is not just historically important. It's fun to read. Dracula is not just historically important. It's fun to read. A lot of those are that way. So, anyway, yeah, that's my advice. And anyway, that's going to be it for today. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me. I will see you all next time. I will stream on Saturday. We'll do some more writing. So this is the end of chapter 6. Now we're on chapter 7. And I'll put chapter 6 up on the Patreon, Ko-Fi, Substack, all those places. And then we will get book 1 out to the patrons at some point here of King Leopard. Which I'm not, I think when if I crowdfund it, I don't think I'll volumize it, but it really is one book in 3 different large areas. But anyway, that's what I'll do for that. So I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.